Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And first question I would like to ask about your experience in Kazakhstan, how your relationship with our country started.
Well, oh my God, I think I've been coming to Kazakhstan for about 18 years.
Oh.
The first time I came, I was a managing director at UBS in London, and we were doing an RFP for a deal. And it happened to be the first Eurobond of the Development Bank of Kazakhstan.
Awesome.
So it's full circle.
Yeah.
So my first trip, we flew into Almaty from London, and then we took a plane over to Astana. And one of the most amazing flights I ever took, because I was able, around 6 o'clock in the morning, to actually see Kazakhstan for the first time, coming from Almaty to Astana, and just look at the beautiful geography, topography of the country.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it was amazing to land in Astana and see the new capital developing. And subsequently, every time I came back to Astana, there was a new building, there was something else.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was very exciting to see not only the country, but the capital develop. So what's interesting about life, the virtuous circle, is that I came and we won for the Eurobond deal for DBK, the first one, and now I'm an independent director of the bank.
Awesome. And you said like it's now 18 years that you are working in Kazakhstan. So my question is, how do you cope with these long flights?
You know, so many people ask me that. Well, one, you have to, it's a state of mind. So when I started in finance, which is straight out of university, I was covering the emerging markets. So I've been on an airplane from my first day of work, covering Latin America, covering the Middle East, covering Africa, covering Europe. So Central Asia would come naturally. So I feel like airplanes are my second home, actually. Lufthansa, you know, lounge may be my second home. But you know what? It's one, eating well, exercising, funny enough, hydrating is very important. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of yoga. But it's also your mind. It's having a calm mind and body. I don't see getting on an airplane as a chore. I see it as an exciting adventure. I love what I do, and so that excites you. And if you do what you love, it doesn't weigh on you so much. So of course it's tiring. Of course you can't do it every week, but I do enjoy traveling, and I do enjoy traveling to Kazakhstan.
Awesome. And about your experience in Kazakhstan, as you are a U.S. citizen, can you recall some cases when there were difficulties with the culture, maybe communications with the Kazakhstani business specifically? Well,
that's a very wide question. So why don't I narrow it to my experience, my direct experience. So I've had the privilege to work with some of the most visionary and highly professional and intelligent people in Kazakhstan. That to me, at par, or if not even above, Europeans and Americans in certain ways. So because Kazakhstan was developing, there was always the spirit of vision. How do you take Kazakhstan further? How do you make it a better country? How do you propel the country as a beacon for the region and a benchmark, perhaps in certain cases, for the world? So because I was able to work with these kind of people, what I noticed in the culture with the people I worked closely with was always this sense of, let's make Kazakhstan better. Let's push the country forward. Let's imbue ourselves of vision. So in terms of the government officials I've worked with, the prime ministers I worked with, and others, I can say that it was more of a culture of risk-taking and more vision than some other places. But with that said, there are cultural issues that you need to change over time as business from top to bottom continues to develop in the country. And you know, you can have risk on the top, but you also have to imbue the culture to take risk. Yeah. I one day want to see Kazakhstan with, you know, young ladies and young men starting their own hedge funds, investing in their own companies in the country. Not relying so much on foreign direct investment, but also from homegrown investment. That kind of, you know, entrepreneurial, financed focus, capital development, that kind of culture, I would love to see in the country.
Awesome. Then now let's switch to your experience as an independent director of DBK. It's been now for more than 4 years, right?
That's right.
And in your perspective, what has changed during that period, and what, most importantly, what needs to be changed in DBK?
I think when I joined DBK, people were surprised of my style of being an independent director, which is more about my style rather than culture. Because I'm one, as you see, I'm very shy. No. I'm one that really likes to roll up my sleeve. So one of the big changes, I believe I can say confidently, is that the committee that I was running and participating became more of a working committee. It became more of a place that you actually rolled up your sleeve. You actually asked really tough questions. You actually got data or information and you pieced it apart and you repackaged it and you unpackaged it and you go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, or maybe we should do it this way, or this may not be aligned with what we want to do. So I think that culture of making the committees less of a process-oriented place, but a place of where ideas can actually be exchanged, that everyone's competency can actually be brought into a forum, a safe forum of discussion, where everyone can bring their skill sets for the best resolution, is one of the biggest changes that I believe I brought to the bank. This sense of, committee meetings are places that, are hard work but fun, and you also leave learning something else. So one of the big changes I saw in the bank, employees and staff and members, is that from being maybe a little bit hesitant, they started to embrace this, which is really a credit to the culture of the Kazakh people in this bank and the professionalism, because they started to embrace this idea of having a working committee. They started to embrace the idea of, well, let me see if the independent board member or members or others can help me solve this problem, or help me look at this better, or maybe I can help them understand something. So having this friendship, this collaboration, this teamwork, true teamwork, was, I think, one of the biggest changes in how boards interact, in how members of the committees interact. And I think that's made, maybe, if I can dare to say, the Development Bank of Kazakhstan, maybe a benchmark in terms of how do you work well with independent board members and the local Kazakhs in trying to increase governance, transparency, and thought process, and really aligning the aims of what the bank does and how it best impacts the economy. So that is amazing. And I got to say that wouldn't be able to happen if we didn't have the right leaders. And under Zhamashev and now Mr. Sakulev, these are the chairman of the management boards and the chair of the boards, right? The heads of Bayterak that come. They embrace this culture too. So it's really, what I've noticed is this sense of camaraderie, of working hard, of people respecting each other and not scared of asking for questions or more information, or not scared of, okay, let me make this better, can I come back to you? That kind of working together is what a board should be.
Yeah.
A board shouldn't be a rubber stamp institution. That's not
should be
work.
dynamic.
A person that accepts to be a board member, especially an independent board member, should work. They should work hard. And they should make sure that their committees and their participation is more of a working group for the final realization. So I think that was a big change. And I think because of that change, certain silos that were normal in bank operations actually started to fade away. Because you couldn't be successful in a committee meeting if you were only talking about your own project, if you weren't eliciting the information or talking to your colleagues. So that also, I think, created a culture of more togetherness, where other departments have to work together and have to work together in a teamwork setting, in a friendly, professional environment. So I think that's been amazing, and kudos to everybody for really embracing that. What needs to change? I don't think anything needs to change really as a board, but I think we have to invest more money into technology, and everyone has to invest more money in technology. Yeah. I think we have to increase our digital imprint. The world's gone digital. Yeah. DBK has to go digital. Kazakhstan has to go digital.
No one can ignore that, yeah.
No one can ignore that. I think that there's processes that we can do internally with technology to make the credit process, the risk management process, even the communication process more efficient.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge that every company does every day, anywhere in the world. It's not something for Kazakhstan, but I would really like to see that. And I would really like to see Kazakhstan increase its profile as a leader a leader within the country, because DBK has done some remarkable things. One thing I'm very proud of is the 2 first ever tenge denominated Eurobond deals. So let me make sure you understand this. We went from the first deal that I did for DBK, which was a hard currency Eurobond, foreign investors bought it, to now issuing 2 tenge denominated Eurobond deals that foreigners own. So now foreigners have exposure of DBK in tenge in their portfolios outside of the country. That's a huge breakthrough.
Yeah.
So people are willing to double down in Kazakh risk. So I think that DBK can take even the lead in many more other projects like that, which elevates the country and really shows this commitment to move the economy forward, but in a smart manner. So these are the things I would like to see the bank do.
I see.
And by the way, sorry, and I also want to say one thing because I think it's very important. We have such a great push in the country to increase foreign direct investment and investor profile of the country. I would love to see the bank selectively and within its mandate participate in some of these, projects with foreigners. So if we have a project, it would be great to have that project financed not only by DBK but with foreign money as well. Yeah. So that there's more of this collaborative environment with foreign investors. And I think DBK has the expertise. I think it will be seen as a center of expertise for credit. And I think it would be a place that foreign investors would love to see some of their select participation in certain key projects in the future, which I think elevates the country and the bank altogether.
Yeah, and as a follow-up about the investment, recently the World Bank, they published the study Overcoming Stagnation of Productivity, where they pointing the fact that growth in Kazakhstan can no longer be supported by increased investment. What do you think about that?
I think that that's very important, and let's focus on this, because I think that this goes with what I said about technology. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can't only throw capital anymore into a company or into a country. You have to throw smart capital. Mm-hmm. So I think that in following with what I said, becoming more digital and focusing more on technology, it's not about throwing money in the agriculture sector and say, I hope it grows. It's about helping develop agro-tech in Kazakhstan so that productivity increases. See, Kazakhstan has a huge opportunity. There's extremely well-educated people here, both educated internally in the country and externally. So Kazakhstan has to spend a lot of time really growing their technological know-how and fostering the development of technology for greater productivity. So it's human capital development alongside technological development. And technological development doesn't mean copying another company and their processes. That's fine. But in reality, you can also foster an environment internally where Kazakhs are given the opportunity through capital to find their own technological solutions that fit their company and their country. Mm-hmm. So just don't throw money in agriculture, throw money in agrotech. Don't just throw money into oil and refinery, throw money in the new technological innovations of that. Just don't throw money in the hospitals, throw out smart tech money into the hospitals. Mm-hmm. That, I think, is the core that Kazakhstan needs to focus, as any country does. Kazakhstan is in a very geopolitical, beneficial location. Let's throw money into technology that increases logistic support. Make Kazakhstan a hub. If you get a compass and you just go around it, in 5 hours of travel by plane, you hit a 5 billion person market. So Kazakhstan can spend a lot of time, I think, in smart investments and smart capital allocation, and that is, let's develop more of the technology to improve productivity across the value chain. That's what I think we should be doing.
Thank you. Going back to the DBK, you said it is a benchmark now. And Can you recall the most successful projects that you can say to yourself, yes, I contributed personally to its implementation?
Everyone contributes personally to all of the success of the bank. And for me to say, well, I personally did this, it's not correct. We, as a team, have contributed to any of the successes and or failures of the bank, right? So I think that I don't want to single out project by names, because then I don't want other people to feel like their project wasn't mentioned, which they would be fair to say. But I'm very, very pleased with our focus into the poultry. Most recently, we financed a plant that created 700 jobs in a region that needed that employment, and that now has a capacity to feed some of the international food chains that are inside Kazakhstan at that quality, that international quality, which I think is really good. I'm very excited about focusing on green tech and renewable energy. I think that, Kazakhstan is blessed, of course, with oil and gas, rare earths, and all of that. But I think that being able to go into renewable energy and agrotech are the two new black golds of the country. So I think that's very important. And I think that I'm always happy when we continue to invest in the mining areas or aluminum, that we invest in productivity increases, machines that do it better, technology that is more efficient and productive. So I prefer to tell you about the areas that I see that's growing. And obviously, I'm always very happy when we focus on import substitution. So that's extremely important for the country. There's so much land, there's so much space, that if we continue to focus and invest in our people, and we continue to focus on industries that help us with import substitution, so we import less and export more, that would be beneficial for the everyday person in terms of better employment, also learning so that they can have some value transfer and knowledge, but also in the fiscal balance of the country.
Okay. I see. So the quality of the loan portfolio is really pressing issue in the Kazakhstani banking system. What can you say about it in the context of DBK?
So I think that whenever we're talking about NPLs, non-performing loans, which is usually the indicator people focus on, we do need to make a separation between a commercial bank and DBK. That's number one, right? We're not exposed to everyday people, which tend to be one of the issues with non-performing loans systematically, in addition to issues with, corporates, right? But I think the best way to answer that question is to give you numbers. Mm-hmm. So in 2009, if memory doesn't fail me, NPLs were around 6 or 6.6%. By the end of 2018, it was at 0.5%.
That's awesome.
So I think that tells you that our journey has been well navigated.
Yeah.
Of course, you had issues with the currency devaluation. Of course, you always have to watch that. But those numbers, I think, speak for themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And, I applaud management for a great job.
Okay. But in general, can you share your recipe about how not to drop the quality of the loan portfolio?
Well, you have to be vigilant. So, managing credit risk or risk in general is not something that you do as a reaction to an event, but it's something that you prepare for proactively. Very important. It's not something you go, oh my God, something happened, a devaluation happened, oh my God, what do I do? It's something that you actually manage proactively. That's why, for example, we require a monthly report. What is the currency exposure of the bank? Every month we know. At what devaluation do we have issues with a particular or a group of creditors? What should we do if we hit that? So we have a game plan ahead of time. Mm-hmm. So managing any type of risk is thinking about what possibly is the risk, putting a probability around it, and having an answer so that you're not caught off guard. And I think that over these years, we've been extrememely proactive about that. We've been very vigilant about the credit qualities, about the FX qualities.
Well, I've done some small research about you, and I know at one time, you contributed to the successful debt restructuring of the commercial banks. Mm-hmm. So was that experience useful in DBK when, in the context of the work with the problem borrowers?
I think it is, because what you're referring to is the 2009-2010 crisis, where I led under the Prime Minister Karim Asimov the restructuring of Bank, Alliance Bank, and Timir Bank. And by the way, these are international benchmarks. BTA is an actual international benchmark, and it's a case study written by Oxford PhDs and taught at Oxford about how Kazakhstan got it right during the financial crisis, and other people didn't, other countries didn't. So this is something that Kazakhstan should be proud of. But it did, because obviously then I had an intimate knowledge about what caused some of the non-performing loans, what were the deficiencies and failures of oversight in terms of credit, or even FX management, right? Or derivative management, or so risk in general. So really being able to look at the books and question management, like, why didn't you do this, or what were your problems, what were your impediments, even what are some of your obstacles of dealing with the legal process, even if you have a defaulted borrower, how do you recoup, what is the actual value at the end, so when you look at the loan to value matrices. So having that intimate knowledge of how non-performing loans can creep up, take different forms, and different measures to try to remedy some of that is something that I bring to the bank every day.
And the last question, in your perspective, what qualities a successful independent director have to possess?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think an independent director needs to first understand the context of the culture that they're working in. You can't come and demand a certain way of work from a different country within the context of where you're working. With that said, you should always bring best practice. So really, it's about being a leader. It's about being someone who guides, stewards, shepherds people. And also having great communication skills, because you have to be valuable, take your experience and make it meaningful to you. And in a way that it's meaningful, that you can go home and understand it and apply what I'm giving you in experience, right? Because of course you're giving me something, but I'm giving you, right? So the question is, so being able to communicate that in a way in which you can apply that to your everyday job and feel that you're growing with it, and you're not being chastised by it, or you're not understanding why it's important, or you're not understanding how it impacts the bank. So really being able to transfer your skill sets in a way in which people can absorb it and digest it and use it in an everyday context and feel like they're growing from it is very important. Communication, leadership. And leadership means sometimes not being popular. Sometimes just saying that this is what I believe is the right way, and you may not like it, but this is what I think is the right way. Because if someone's asking you to be on their board, you assume they respect your judgment. So you have to have judgment. And I think that's extremely important.
Үлкен рахмет. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
for the interview.
Thank you.